jump right in. So, just a little bit more about me. I founded Legendary Line Creative Agency and Mental Health Marketing. Mental health marketing is sort of our focus on mental health clinicians. I've been working with mental health clinicians since like 2013. And so I like to provide these workshops as a way to give back to the mental health community and help you guys grow your private practices so that you can kind of see what we do here a little bit, but also we can give value out of the lessons that we've learned over the years. So we provide these as free workshops to the community as part of our mission to make therapy more accessible to people and provide support to connect therapists with their ideal clients and help them grow their private practice. I tend to go really fast. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. I promise I'll leave time to connect with all those, but I like to do those at the end because I might answer your questions as I go along. But if it comes up, drop it in the chat so you don't forget, and that way I can connect with you on that when I start to wind down. A few things more in preamble. I will be going over some math here, but don't fear. I have a spreadsheet where it's all pre-calculated for you, so you can feel free to take notes, but I'm actually going to drop you a link to this worksheet, and we'll have some time to actually jam on that together. And then I have a few bonuses at the end, too, so if you stick around, I promise if you focus, you'll definitely take away something of real value today, and I'll get you some cool stuff at the end. So today we're going to focus on discovering the ideal marketing budget. An ideal marketing budget for any business is typically going to be built on a percent of revenue. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And then if you have questions around that, like I said, drop them in the chat so that I can get a little bit more clarity around maybe nuanced cases if you feel like what I show you today doesn't totally fit with what you know about your business. So with that being said, if you could drop in chat where you guys are joining us from today. I'd love to hear where you're all joining us from. I'm joining you from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm originally from Traverse City, Michigan. Maria, where are you joining us from?
I'm in New York as well.
New York.
Someone else in New York, yeah.
Yeah, we got some other New Yorkers. Cool, cool. Northern Michigan, yeah. So Traverse City, Michigan must be a place that you know, right, Carrie? I go back every summer. It's beautiful up there. We've got the color changes right now, so all the trees are changing. You can take like a color tour, go through the wineries because it's right on the 45th parallel. It's beautiful there. Cool. We got Chi-Town in the house as well. Thanks for joining us today. Super cool. So we already did introductions. I don't have to go over this. This is just usually what I do for my workshops. I introduce myself, but some notable accomplishments so you know like where this advice is coming from. I have a background in business. I own a creative agency for decades now, but I did help build the online counseling directory, which you may be aware of. You may even have a profile on it, and we built the Practice of the Practice logo and website for the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanic over there. We've done a bunch of stuff in the space, but those are typically the recognizable things that we've done. At Mental Health Marketing, I'm kind of like an abstract thinker, and I see trends, and I'm a programmer and designer. So when I built this out, I built it out that's a little bit different than what you might find in the space. Typically, you find a lot of coaches and business consultants that are therapists who built a business, and then they kind of teach you that. I'm coming at it from the other direction where I'm a business major and I've spent so much time in this space that I bring all of my formal education and the lessons and tips and tricks I've learned as I've worked on multiple businesses over the years. So we typically start with some business basics and foundations, then we work with lead gen with our clients, and then we do advanced marketing. If you're interested in more, I'll get you links so that we can get hooked up. But let's dive into it, what you're here for. So what's a reasonable marketing budget? So the Small Business Administration recommends that businesses that have roughly at least 10% in profit margin spend about 10% of their annual revenue on marketing to grow the business. So I have some basic numbers here to keep it really simple. You could go down to like 6 or 7%. Around 10% is usually the average for B2C businesses, which is business to consumer. And that's what a private practice is. A marketing budget of this size might seem like a really big price tag if you're in solo practice and you're earning around 50 to 70,000 a year, and you see that $5,000 price tag. Kind of looks like whoa. But when you break it down into a monthly marketing budget, it seems a little bit more palatable. And when you go to spend this marketing budget, it's not just about the number and how much you spend, but what your clients are worth to the business. And that's what we're going to be working on today a little bit. You'll have this marketing budget number, but by the end of this workshop, you'll know how that applies to growing your business and where you should be spending that ideally, and knowing like that you're actually going to make money on it instead of just sort of throwing money at somebody's services and hoping that it works out. So, top 5 expenses that I see in private practices when it comes to marketing, like where that budget's going to be spent, are typically on like branding and graphic design. The biggest practices that I work with that are large group practice, multiple location, they all say the same thing when I ask them. One of my favorite questions, I'll ask them, if you could go back to when you first started your private practice, what advice would you give yourself? And they're all like, I would have done a professional logo and website like first, right out of the gate, because when people are making purchasing decisions for therapy right now, one of the first things they're going to do is search for you online. And how you present yourself online is really going to reflect on their initial perception of what your therapy might be like. Now, you and I know that that's not necessarily true, but that's kind of how they're inferring based on what they're seeing about how to make their decision. So having a professional presence online, very, very important. Then once you have like your logo and your website done, doing organic SEO with a specialist can help people find you online when they search for things like anxiety therapist in Boston or marriage counseling in Houston, Texas. And you can try to do this stuff yourself. We do have some workshops to kind of teach you like how to do it yourself, but we can really only show you the basics. Working with a specialist is how you're really going to stand out. And then, of course, there's always like paid advertising. So if someone searches for those things I mentioned, you just straight up pay to show up as a result. And even though most people don't click on those, the people that do, you know, are interested. So if they search for marriage counseling online and you come up as a specialist and you've got your information in the description, they click that and land on your landing page, they're really interested in that service. So that's why that can be a great tool to grow your private practice. And then, of course, you have directory listings and online platforms that you can get referrals to over time. So I'm going to go over some math real quick. Please stick with me. I promise this is not going to be too heavy. So there's a few things that I asked you to bring to today's session. Total revenue, total expenses, total number of clients seen, and total number of sessions over a given period. I'm going to show you how that math really breaks down to give you a lot more clarity on marketing budget and what you should do. First thing that you're going to find with that information is your profit margin. So you can use your total revenue and expenses to figure out how profitable is the business. This might be positive or negative, especially if you're a smaller practice and you're still figuring out how to pay yourself and the bills and the rent for the office and all the things. But the profit margin's really important because we're going to use that to figure out with the value of your average client, how much latitude you have to spend to acquire new clients without losing money. So we want to figure that out. We want to figure out your average billable rate as well. When I talk to clinicians, when we're doing like intake on our side for our marketing program, we'll often get a lot of different answers about, well, some of them are higher ticket and they're private pay. Others I do sliding scale, or, you know, there are different insurances that give different amounts of compensation for my services. That's okay. If you look at your whole client portfolio, you can still average all of that out. And that's important because you want to know, what is the average client worth and what is my average billable rate, so that you can figure out some of these marketing numbers, because those types of clients are still going to keep coming through your marketing efforts. So you kind of want to get a clear picture on what is the average amount of my average billable rate. We'll also help you figure out your average number of sessions per client with our worksheet. And that's really helpful to just kind of see, like, as a metric, you know, quarter over quarter, year over year, are you having clients see you more frequently than before? And that can help also change the lifetime value of any given client that you have. Each, you know, additional session that you have across all the clients you have is going to be one more hour of billable time. And then we'll figure out the average lifetime value. So you could tell the math is pretty simple arithmetic. It's a lot of math, but I help make it pretty cool with a spreadsheet, so it's super easy. The last thing we'll figure out is maximum client acquisition cost. So how much can the business or the private practice afford to spend to acquire a new client and know it's not losing money? And hint, it's going to have to do with your profit margin and the lifetime value of your average client. Okay, so we're going to do workshop time. I promised you I had a worksheet, and here it is. Now, If you don't have Google Drive, when I share this link, let me know in chat. I can share it as like an Excel file or like a CSV file so that you can still play along. But I'm going to grab this, type this as copy, and then I'm going to paste this into chat. So you should be able to just click that link in chat. On Google Meet here, you should have a chat option, probably in the lower right-hand corner. And when you open that, you should see my thing, and we're in this like infinite loop while I pull that over, so I'm gonna pull it back. Cool. So we're going to review this sheet together. I'm gonna give you guys a few seconds to click in there. For everyone that's here, is anyone having trouble grabbing that sheet? Cool. All right. If you're having any trouble, drop it in chat and I'll make sure to get you a link to the alternative version. So first thing we want to do is put in the total annual revenue of the practice. Ideally, you're using annual numbers for this exercise, but if you're just starting a practice and you don't know, then around 56,000 for the first year is probably a safe number to use. You can figure this out based on like what a reasonable billable rate you think would be and how many clients you want to see per week. And then you can figure out like how much revenue you would earn over the year. But put in your total revenue here. Then next, put your total expenses. And this sometimes trips people up, but I've got little tooltips here for you. So total revenue is all the money that comes into the business. Every dollar that the business earns. Total expenses is everything out. This is really easy to do if you have a business account, but if you're kind of mixing personal finances and business finances, this is probably, I get to be the first person that says from the business side, hey, you really need to start separating that out. So if you haven't, that's okay. You can come back to this sheet, but you'll want to go through the last year and separate out all the things that you spent money on for the business specifically. And that includes paying yourself, paying other people, paying rent, phone, utilities, whatever that is, all those numbers. And then the total number of billable the total amount of revenue that the business made. After that, you'll want to put in the total number of clients that you saw over that given period. And then lastly, you'll put in your number of sessions. Okay. What this will do is help you figure out your profit margin in the business. The average in the industry I see varies between 15 to 5%. To give you an idea of what industry averages are. It's on the higher end when clinicians are highly specialized and they do online counseling only, so they have no rent overhead or anything like that. Typically, it's on the lower end when therapists are generalists. They kind of don't specialize in any given population or issue, so they don't broadcast that, and so it doesn't really resonate as much with people, and rates tend to be lower for that type of work. And then you tend to have office expenses and things like that factor in. So that'll figure out your profit margin. Your average billable rate will be figured out using the total revenue and total sessions that you put in over that time period. So you can figure this out just using numbers from a month, but it's much better to use a year because then you've got a bigger set of numbers to work off of. So these numbers are more accurate. Calculator will also help you figure out your average sessions per client. Again, this is a useful metric to figure out how many sessions on average the clients see you before they leave. You're going to have some lifetimers or just lots of sessions, anywhere between 12 to 24 maybe, and then some who just come one time and think it's not a great fit. I recognize that you have a lot of those cases, but the average helps you figure out as a business owner where across the whole board, where does that needle rest in terms of how many sessions on average I'm seeing with clients. It'll also help you figure out your client lifetime value. And based on that, which is figured out by your average billable rate and the average number of sessions clients have, so that's the average worth to the business for each client, we can figure out the maximum cost of acquisition. And this comes from figuring out that average client lifetime value against your profit margin. This number is really special. This is what we came here to do. This number helps us know that your business, in this case, on my spreadsheet, this helps us know that your business can afford to spend $60 to acquire a new client on average, with the average billable rate, and you will not lose money, okay? At $61, you'll be losing $1 per client. At 59, you'll be gaining $1 per client in this hypothetical case. Average lifetime client value tends to vary between usually around like 500 to 1500. Also kind of depends on your margins. So this number is really useful because what I'll do as a marketer is help you figure this information out and go, okay, well, we can do a paid ads campaign. I know that the average cost of acquisition for most of our campaigns is around $25 to $30. So what we could do is fill your caseload, keep your practice profitable, put you in a position to be able to hire more clinicians and fill their caseload and start to grow your practice if that's your prerogative. And all we need to do is make sure we keep it under this $60 number. If these numbers don't make sense, then maybe it's time to start to evaluate, what am I spending money on in the practice? Or can I lower my revenue that I'm drawing from the practice in order to put some of that coin back towards building it and growing it? The other thing that's really nice about working with a marketer and spending a marketing budget on this activity is that you don't have to just rely on word of mouth referrals from clients, which can really vary dramatically, especially during like the summer slump. When people are away to summer vacations and kids are out of school and stuff like that. When you're doing paid marketing, you can still get out there in front of people and kind of even out that client acquisition flow so it doesn't feel like such a feast and famine scenario. So I want to kind of pause here for a second and just ask you guys in chat, were you able to fill out the spreadsheet, and can you see your numbers, or did you get stuck anywhere? And then B, if you can see your numbers, do you have any questions that I could answer that would give you clarity around what you're seeing on that spreadsheet, and what advice I might have based on like what you're seeing that might not make sense to you, I guess. I'll keep an eye on chat while I move on. I do have some bonus stuff for you guys today. So how are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing so good on time, you guys. So I do have some bonus stuff for you today. We're doing a bunch of these different workshops. You'll notice I'm not very salesy in it. My whole goal with these workshops is deliver a ton of value, give you some clarity on the business side of things and the marketing and sales side so that you can grow your private practice and just kind of stick to what you love to do, because this is kind of what we love to do, right? So for some bonus material, what I have for you, I'll drop in chat, is a series of other workshops that we're going to be giving out. And I'll throw this up. I do have some questions coming in. I'll get to those, I promise. We have a series of other workshops that we've known to be pretty popular in the past. I'm looking for your opinion, for your feedback. Which of these workshops would you find useful? So we have the title of the workshop and then a little description next to it so that you know what it's all about. If you are interested in these, just check the boxes on the ones that you would like to be invited to. Leave your information and any additional comments that you have on today's workshop, or what you see as in the list here, or a workshop that you want to see. And we'll get you that information and make sure that you're clued into when we're going to be running those. Jovante or Hovante, I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing your name, but I promise I'm doing my best, asks, is the total sessions and total clients for the whole year? Yes. So the way that I set this up, I tried to keep it simple for everybody to use. Ideally, you use numbers from year to date. And that's because you have the summer slump and things like that. So if you take just a snapshot of a single month, it might not necessarily represent purely what happens over the course of a whole year. So ideally you use your annual revenue, annual expenses, how many clients you saw in the last year, and how many total sessions you had in the last year. If you can't do that, then just take a snapshot of time for as long back as you can go. So if it's a month or 3 months or 6 months, that'll all work in this calculator. Just make sure that all the numbers you plug in are over the same time period. Okay. Cool. And then Carrie asks, do total expenses include only recurring expenses, or does it include one-time expenditures like computers that might be deprecated or depreciated? Yes, it includes all expenses. So if you look at your statement, your bank statement, and you see all of the debits from the account, then you would include every one of those things. You can get into depreciation and stuff like that, but that's more for the accountants, and we don't really care about that, right? You can ask your accountant or your CPA about that. Mainly just try to get as close as you can to a number of how much am I spending to run this business each year. And if that includes you needed to buy a computer this year, then that should be included. If it includes like let's say like a security deposit on an office, that should also be included. But if it's something that was more personal in nature and wasn't required to run the business, then maybe that's not included. So yeah, but all of the expenses and all of the revenue should be included here. Cool. Any other questions, you guys? Or can I give you clarity on anything else on how this spreadsheet works and how to figure out that profit margin, average billable, average sessions per client, client lifetime value, and maximum cost of acquisition? While we're waiting for those questions, what was your biggest takeaway from today? During this presentation, what do you feel like was the most useful or helpful piece of information that you learned today? Can you drop that in chat? I'll pull up my presentation back up here. While we're waiting for those comments to come in, I know Maria said that she would make this recording available. I'm probably going to drop it on YouTube as well. If you had any trouble accessing these things, do let us know because we can get you this material. The main goal of these workshops, like I said, is to help you grow your private practice, make things really like dead simple for you so that you don't have to spend a lot of time researching marketing budgets or where to spend the marketing coin or, how to build like what needs to go into a website or anything like that. That's stuff that we do on a daily basis. So I can do these short, quick, high value workshops and just walk you through the things you need to know and then field any questions you have. That's my whole goal with these. So if you fill out that form, we'll make sure to get you the information on those workshops. I'm never going to spam you with salesy stuff. I know you'll come to me when you're ready to work with us, so that's good enough for me. So we got a couple of comments we can close on, and then I'll pass it back to you, Maria. Carrie says, having a process so I can be intentional about what I'm spending. Excellent. That was one of my goals, to make sure that you knew exactly where to be allocating that and how much. John Mentaya says, having more specific questions with the chart. So can I be asked this during consultation? Yes, you absolutely can. In that 15-minute free consultation link, that links to our Calendly, and someone from my team has a more advanced version of this spreadsheet that they walk everyone through for free as part of our process so that we can help you understand where you're at with private practice and we understand like what to offer you to help position you to best grow. So that would probably be the best way to get a more time one-on-one with one of us from our team. Maria, yeah, cool. It was pretty hands-on, right? Using real life examples and figuring out this stuff. So with that, I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aaron. This is so helpful. And I really, really love how, everyone that attended here or that is going to be listening in can take all of this and apply it to their business and to their day-to-day. So really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We really want to continue having different workshops like this where we have amazing guests come in and provide us with great insights so that you can help run a successful private practice. Anything at all, feel free to email me with questions. And yeah, thank you so much, Aaron.
Hey, we stuck the landing right at 11:30.
Amazing.
Thanks,
amazing.
Everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Have a great day, everybody.